this is going to be a fun one. We're going to talk in this chapter about playing around with the speed of a clip. Premiere Pro cs3 introduced a new way to do that, a more sophisticated way to do that, called time remapping. We're going to look at that a little later on in the chapter. These first couple movies in the chapter are going to be devoted to tricks that have been around for a while. But even though they're old friends, they are still really fun to play with. So we're going to talk about changing the speed of this clip, which is going to be an absolute blast. So let's play it back and see what we have so far. Again, you'll find this in your Chapter 7 folder. So let's play this back. So this is Tor Johnson rising from the dead in Plan 9 from Outer Space. Hopefully, when I die, I am buried with my own light source as well, like Tor was here. And so what we're going to do is play around with the speed of this clip. He does take his sweet time in rising from the dead, and we want to speed that process up. So I'm going to hit the home key, and I'm going to right-click on the clip. And from this right-click menu, I'm going to select Speed Duration. Now, the downside of this dialog is that we cannot animate it. That's what time remapping does, new to CS3. However, even though we can't animate this, it's still really awesome to play with the speed of a clip. So I'm actually going to change the speed to 200% here. That's going to make Tor go twice as fast. So now I'm going to select OK. And notice that the clip shrinks to about half the size. That's because it's going twice as fast. So let's see what Tor looks like coming out of the ground, rising from the dead at twice the speed. Now, it actually looks much better going twice the speed. Except, however, at the end, there's some mild unpleasantness here because it looks obvious that he's going twice as fast. Kind of looks a little bit like that girl at the end of the ring. Another big problem that I noticed with this clip is that the audio is sped up as well. It sounds way too tinny and annoying to be realistic. So I'm going to right-click on the clip again and go back to Speed Duration. And I'm going to select Maintain Audio Pitch and hit OK. Now if I hit home and play back, you'll see that the whole thing is much more believable because the audio is the same pitch. It does go faster, but it really helps to sell our acceleration. Now let's watch the end of this clip and watch him freak out just one more time. I don't think I'll ever get tired of that. Now we can also go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to right-click on the clip, go back to Speed Duration, and this time I'm going to change the speed from 200%, which makes the clip play twice fast, to 50%. And let's keep Maintain Audio Pitch selected and hit OK. And notice how long the clip is now, because again, it's playing at half the speed. So if we have all the time in the world to watch Tor Johnson rise from the dead, then we could do this. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, and that is just awesome. What's really cool about that is that the music is still extremely intense, and Tor is just taking so long to rise from the dead. Now, be aware that this is not the only reason why you'd want to speed up a clip or slow it down. It's not just for the sake of making it more entertaining for the viewer. If you want to make something more dramatic, maybe like sucker punch to the face or something, then you could slow that clip down to make it seem more dramatic or intense. Or maybe there's a great victory where a guy is raising a sword after conquering his evil foe. Then you might want to put that in slow motion. It's not just to always hurry things up and get them off screen. One other thing I want to show you about speed duration. I'm going to right-click on this clip, select speed duration one more time, take the speed to 200%, and I'm going to leave Maintain Audio Pitch checked, but this time I'm going to select Reverse Speed. What Reverse Speed is going to do is essentially play the clip backwards. So I'm going to hit OK, and hit Home, and there's Tor out of the grave, and watch him put himself neatly back into his own grave. See you, Tor. Thanks for stopping by. So that's basically speed duration. In the the next movie, we're going to look at a tool called the rate stretch tool that will allow us to dynamically change the speed and timing of a clip. Here we have this great clip from Ninja Death 3, of course. Let's play it back. Awesome. Now, for whatever reason, this clip from Ninja Death 3 is much smaller than our project. Well, now we know how to fix that. So I'm going to select the clip, go to Effect Controls, Open Motion, and let's scale this up to about 150. Maybe even a little bit more than that. There we go. Again, typically it's not a good idea to scale up footage. You can lose a little bit of file quality, especially once you output to your broadcast medium of choice. But since this isn't going anywhere, we can go ahead and scale it up. It looks okay on screen here. So in this video, we're going to look at the rate stretch tool. It's 2 down from the regular selection tool we've been using. It looks like a little X. As a matter of fact, the keyboard shortcut for it is the letter X. So if I'm over here working in the timeline as I normally do, I can hit the letter X and it's automatically selected for me. To find out the keyboard shortcut of any other tool, just hang your mouse over it, wait for the tooltip to pop up, and well, the slide tool shortcut is the letter U. So now that we have the rate stretch tool selected, I can come over here to my clip, and what we do is put our cursor at the end of the clip and just click and drag to change the time of the clip. Now this works just like speed duration that we looked at in the last segment. Because I made the clip shorter, it's going to play back faster. Again, it's the old analogy from LA to Chicago. If we're going to reduce the amount of time it takes to go from LA to Chicago, then we better go faster. There is a distinct relationship between speed and time. So if I play this back, it seems even more ninja-like as he flies through the air even faster and chops his ninja sword even faster. Now, the benefits of using the rate stretch tool is that, again, it's dynamic. I can look at this and say, you know what, I actually want this to fit in a smaller space, so I'm just going to trim this a little bit more, or I'm actually going to make this stretch out a little bit longer, and I have all this fine control over it. I don't have to right-click and open up some dialog box. I can just do it dynamically here in the timeline panel. The benefit of using the speed duration over the rate stretch tool is that with speed duration, we have the ability to maintain the audio pitch. So as I stretch this clip out a lot and play it back, let me hit the home key and play it back. Aside from being extremely humorous, you also notice the audio slowed way down to the point that it just seemed even more ridiculous. If we would have used speed duration, we could have kept the pitch, the audio pitch, the same, and it wouldn't have dropped a few octaves, totally giving our little secret away. So that's essentially the rate stretch tool. In the next segment, we're going to look at the new time remapping feature in Premiere Pro CS3, the ultimate in time remapping in Premiere. Now we get to talk about time remapping in Premiere Pro CS3. Again, this is a new feature, and I'm really excited to show it to you because I have a great clip here from Carnival of Souls. Again, one of my favorites. And folks, again, this is one of the reasons why you want to be a premium subscriber to the Lynda library, so you get all the sweet exercise files like this. It doesn't benefit me either way, but man, this is just so cool to be able to have this awesome clip. So anyways, in this clip from Carnival of Souls, this lady looks exactly like Tori Amos. Now just trust me on that one. She doesn't look that much like her in this clip, but she looks exactly like her, trust me. So in this clip, she is having this delusional fantasy while she's playing this organ. Now it's kind of a long build-up as she's getting more and more delusional here. As you can see, as we scrub and scrub here, we're about a minute into the clip before she starts dreaming about this water, which is where the scary stuff is going to happen. So, again, the climax is completely worth it, but it does take a while to get here. When we do get here, let's scrub a little bit farther. There's the dude's face in the water, extremely creepy. Close his eyes, and then, out of the water, we get this. Comes up out of the water, scares her, but the thing is, after waiting a minute, he takes like 2 seconds to jump out of the water. So it would be great if we could speed up the prep work, all the delusional stuff, and then it'd be great if we could slow it down once we get to this creep part. Well, using the new timer mapping feature, we can. With the other methods I've shown you, with the rate stretch tool and with the speed duration feature, you cannot animate time changes. Now if I select this clip and then go over to Effect Controls, you'll see that timer mapping is one of the features added to a clip when you add it to a timeline, along with motion and opacity. So if you're a Windows user that was using the last version of Premiere Pro, then you'll have motion and opacity. But again, if you have Premiere CS3, you will also have time remapping. However, unlike motion and opacity, I don't prefer to make any changes to timer mapping from the Effect Controls panel. So a better way to do this is to come down to our layer in the timeline and change the rubber band from opacity to timer mapping speed. This horizontal line now represents the speed of the clip. Click and drag this up and the speed of the clip will increase. Drag it down and it will decrease. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my CTI until I find the spot that I want to slow down the video. This will work right here. I'm going to use the left arrow a little bit, make sure we get right on the right frame. That'll work. So now what I'm going to do is come down to the rubber band, and I don't want to change this property yet because I haven't set any keyframes. So what I want to do is hold the Command key or the Control key on the PC, and when I see that little plus sign, I can click, and now I've set a keyframe here. Now, if you watched the chapter on animation, and we talked about the rubber band briefly in the segment on opacity, the keyframes that we set on this rubber band were more like little diamonds. These look much different. The reason why they look different, let me move the CTI out of the way so you can see this here. So these keyframes are much bigger and split in half. The reason why they're split in half is because we could click and drag a half of this here. Let's move it aside. And now we've created this weird gap in between the halves of this keyframe. What this gap is a transition from one speed to the next. So it's not this instantaneous speed change, it's kind of more of a gradual speed change so we could accelerate over time. So what I'm going to do, on the right side of this keyframe, I'm going to take this clip and drag it down a lot. We're going to slow this clip down to about 70-65%, somewhere around there. Notice that the clip got longer once we slowed down this part right here. Also notice one of the downsides of timer mapping is that the audio does not come along for the ride. In this clip, there's just some kind of chaotic organ playing, so it won't make that much of a difference, thankfully. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set another keyframe right before that keyframe, and I'm going to take this little piece in between these two keyframes and drag that up a lot. That's going to make this part play faster. But I actually want to increase the speed over time. So I'm going to stretch this keyframe out to separate these two halves so that it's going to get faster and faster and faster and faster. So when she starts out her delusion, it's going to go 100% over here, and then as she gets more and more delusional, it's going to get faster and faster and faster until it finally crashes and slows down here. So let's put this back and see if we can't see the time accelerate. Now notice that we haven't seen any big changes yet, and that's exactly what we want. We want this to be a subtle, gradual change. So far so good. And let's actually jump ahead a little bit and see if we can see time increasing towards the right side of the keyframe. Well, the water's definitely going faster. Let's keep playing. See, that looked so much more manic. Just looking around. This guy's going to come out of the water very slowly now. So we sped up and sped up and sped up, and then finally we crashed. That's creepy. But what a great effect, to be able to animate speed changes when we're talking about clips. This is the benefit of timer mapping, to play a clip faster and faster and faster, and then to crash it and slow it all down. We've never been able to do anything like this before in Premiere. I'm going to show you another benefit of this new timer mapping feature in the next segment where we talk about playing a clip backwards. Now, I realize that I've showed you how to play a clip backwards before using speed duration. But with timer mapping, we could actually play part of a clip backwards, and that's next.